matter has been adjourned till May 22nd and 24th for the display of the alleged weapons and continuation of trial. Let's go for a short break, but when we come back, we will give you more report. Don't go away.
Democracy allows for fair hearing. This is reckless. This is ungodly.
When news break, we engage experts in critical analysis.
Do you see your party coming into power come 2019?
This administration will succeed and succeed well.
You cannot be running a 4-year tenure like you are running a 20-year tenure.
He has done fairly well, especially where insurgency and terrorism.
Then it gets controversial.
They have the right to their opinion. Can we, very interesting gentlemen, just hold on.
I am about principle and I am about force.
Now, you see, let me say this.
So that our soldiers will be free. We should also ask for justification.
Core Digest, your #1 program for current issues.
Welcome back. The National Commandant of the Peace Corps of Nigeria, Ako, has asked a federal high court sitting in Abuja to suspend his trial indefinitely on the ground that Nigerian police, that is the prosecution, has failed to obey the court order that was made in his favor. Ako is being prosecuted by Nigerian police on allegations bordering on money laundering. The National Commandant of Peace Corps of Nigeria, Ako, is asking the Federal High Court in Abuja to put his trial on hold following what he calls persistent refusal of the police to unseal the headquarters of the organization in Abuja since February 28, 2016. In a motion supported with 16-paragraph affidavit, the defendant drew the attention of the court to its decision of January 16, 2018, where the police was ordered to immediately vacate the premises of the Peace Corps and allow the defendant unfettered access to the office. Through his counsel, the defendant insisted that the action of the police was capable of truncating the nation's democracy and the rule of law, as well as cause anarchy, urging the court to compel the police to respect the order before the trial can continue.
In January 15 precisely, this court made an order directing the federal government of Nigeria and by extension the Nigerian police to unseal the headquarters office of the Nigerian Peace Corps. Before this order was made, in November, a sister judge, Honorable Justice Gabriel Kolawole, also made similar order directing the Nigerian police to unseal their headquarters office at Jabi. Up to the time of this moment, the office has remained under seal. You would also recall that the House Committee, of the National Assembly also had a public hearing. After hearing from all the parties, also came up with a resolution directing the federal government and the Nigerian police to unseal the head office of the Peace Corps. But they have refused to comply with the orders of this court and both that of the National Assembly. We are only aware that they have appealed against the judgment of Honorable Justice Gabriel Kolawole, but the order made by Honorable Justice John Soho, before whom we have come now, has not been appealed against. No application or order of stay is even pending in this court.
However, counsel to the prosecution, Andrew Don Obo, urged the court to refuse the prayer of the defendant as contained in his motion on notice. He claimed that Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 did not permit stay of proceedings in a criminal matter and pleaded with the judge not to entertain the motion. Efforts made to get his reaction was not successful, but defense counsel further speaks on the matter.
There is no reason, there is no justification why they should remain in disobedience of the order of the court. And that is why we are asking the court to adjourn this matter pending when they comply with the court's order. One of the reasons why we came up with this application is that the facilities required for their defense is in those offices. Until they gain access to those offices, they will not be able to prepare adequately for their defense as contained under Section 36, sub 6B of the 1999 Constitution.
After listening to arguments from both parties, the trial judge, Justice John Soho, fixed June 11 for ruling in the application.
The application that is currently before the court, the substantive case, is directly in touch with the public hearing of the House of Representatives on hijab, whereas the parties seeking to be joined had responded to the public request made by the House of Reps for memoranda on that particular issue. These parties seeking to be joined presented a memorandum, and on 2 different occasions mobilized their members from different parts of Nigeria to be at the General Assembly. And on these two occasions, the public hearing was aborted. The second one being aborted on the premise that there was a pending matter, this very suit. You can see that definitely their joinder is highly meritorious, because in law you are either a necessary party or not. We have three types of parties, but in this case we have proper party, we have a necessary party, and a desirable party. In this case, hijab rights advocacy initiative is a necessary party, and if I will oblige you with copies of the processes we have filed, you will see it from the affidavit alone. You will see it. This rights advocacy initiative of hijab, they have members that are doctors, that are lawyers, that are engineers, and the rest, and they all are done hijab. By the time the good intention of the House of Rep to do justice to the issue of hijab is scuttled by way of the court, a lot of them are going to be affected.
Let's go for a short break, but when we come back, we will give you more report. Don't go away.
Hi, I am Anete Patrick, host of your program Abuja Today, that brings you highlights of happenings in Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory from the Office of the Federal Capital Territory Administration.
I appeal to all of us citizens, leaders, politicians, and all to support this team to be able to restore the Abuja Master Plan.
To the streets that involves every boy, every girl, every man, every woman, and every youth on the streets, unfolding of happenings in the nation's capital territory.
Our challenge here is kidnapping, and the secret is there. It's a very short journey. You don't have to go as far as Abaji before you know what is happening in Kuji.
All of us, we don't know, in short, we don't know where to put head, because definitely our children, they are hungry.
So join me at this time on CoreTV as we take you on a tour on Nigerian seats of power.
Welcome back to this final lap of the program. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has adjourned till June 3rd for the continuation of the trial of former Group Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Andrew Yakubu. Yakubu, just like others, is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on allegations bordering on money laundering. After the court proceedings, the EFCC counsel was not around to speak, but counsel to Yakubu was on ground, and he provided insight on what transpired during the court proceedings.
Basically, they called another witness, and the witness has just come to tender his declaration of asset, which is submitted to the commission, and that he omitted mentioning some of this money. And that is just the whole evidence, what is evidence all about. It means the interim attachment remains, and until this criminal matter is disposed of, nothing can happen to the money. It remains where it is. That is the implication. The government cannot touch it. He cannot touch it. The money remains on interim attachment, and that's all.
The Open Government Partnership is an international multi-stakeholders initiative focused on improving transparency, citizen participation, and responsiveness to citizens through technology and innovations. President Buhari, who was represented by his vice, Yemi Osinbajo, at the event that attracted both international and foreign stakeholders, disclosed that since Nigeria joined OGP in 2017, that the government has become more transparent in running the nation's affairs. As a way of showing open governance and accountable leadership, Nigerian authorities maintained that recovered funds are now being invested on infrastructure projects.
Since 2017, our annual national budgets have included a line item on revenue generated from asset recoveries. All funds forfeited to the federal government are being included in our yearly budget proposals for appropriation by the National Assembly. We've also committed to investing these recovered funds on infrastructure projects and our National Social Investment Program. In addition, we've submitted a bill to the National Assembly for the purpose of enacting a more comprehensive legislation on proceeds of crime. The successes recorded from the implementation of the OGP framework have contributed in no small measure to the improvement in the perception of Nigeria's business environment by investors, by businesses, and the international community. Through the work of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, who are also members of the OGP National Steering Committee, Nigeria moved 20 places up on the World Bank's 2017 Ease of Doing Business Index. The reforms, many of them heavily dependent on technology, have seen business registration time reduced to under 48 hours, simplified processes for paying taxes and obtaining Nigerian visas, and improved access not just to credit by businesses, but also to credit information by potential lenders.
An opportunity to take stock of what has been our achievement so far and try to take an inventory of challenges we face currently and brainstorm on how best to overcome them.
Other key members of OGP, United Nations, and the United States of America want Nigerian government to continue open and transparent leadership as stipulated by the organization.
Transparency matters for sustainable development. All around the world there are people who seek to have what Nigeria has. A government that acknowledges that its partnership with its citizens is its government.
According to the organizers, the stakeholders here, both government officials and civil society groups, are expected to brainstorm on how government can be more accountable to the citizens.
We are moving gradually to a situation where we want the people in the communities to know that when a road is going through your community, that the government has paid money for that road to be constructed. And therefore, you can access that information, you can ask questions, you will know through the open contracting platform who is constructing that road. And you can ask about whether that road is being properly constructed or not. With the Budget Office platform, we've set up what we call the Citizens Eye Monitor platform. So citizens can go there, you can ask questions, you can send information about things that are not being properly done with government projects.
Nigeria joined OGP in 2017, making it the 70th country that belongs to the organization, which has its sole aim of entrenching good governance among member countries. Well, this is the size of our package on this week, but join us again as we bring you updates on the activities happening within and outside the judiciary. Keep watching and remain blessed. I am Basil Okafor.
The ayes have it.
Hello and thanks for joining us again on your program Gavel to Gavel. Today we shall bring you the report of a running battle between the Senate and the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, plus other big stories from the two chambers of the National Assembly during the week. Stay tuned for these and more shortly. I am Chuka Odita, your host.
The ayes have it.
Welcome back. The skirmish between the Nigerian Senate and the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, seems to be worsening by the day. For the fourth time running, the Inspector General of Police has refused to appear before the Committee of Whole of the Senate to brief the lawmakers on modalities the police has on ground to stop the spate of killings by armed Fulani herdsmen in agrarian states, plus to give an update on the arrest of Dino Melaye, one of their own, who was arrested in handcuffs. This is the fourth sequence of refusal by the IGP to appear before the Senate to brief them on security challenges in the country. The President of the Senate had Tuesday informed his colleagues that the IGP will appear before the lawmakers Wednesday following an official report made to President Muhammadu Buhari over the conduct of the IGP towards the Senate. On the assumption that the IGP has been called to order, the Senate schedules appearance of a police boss in the Wednesday order paper, but were rudely shocked to learn that the unwilling IGP has again failed to turn up as other times. Senators took turn to express displeasure over the embarrassing development.
This is very unusual and also very unfortunate. I personally feel that public officers should do what is in the interest of the public, and where any public officer feels he cannot do what is in the interest of the public, then there is no need for such an officer to continue to occupy that kind of office.
It is sad, it is inexcusable, it's unacceptable, it's condemnable, and it calls for immediate action.
On official capacity, there is no any person here that is no bigger than the IG constitutionally. Anybody here can invite the IG officially, because by the Constitution, every senator is bigger than the office of the IG. And this is, if we are counting, this is the fourth time the IG was invited here, and for some other reasons, he refused to come. The first time when I made the allegation on the way the police is being governed or made by the Inspector General of Police, he brought a lawyer challenging the authority of the Senate to invite him.
The Senate noted that this, in our view, is a gross disrespect to the institution and constituted authority. Senate also noted that his earlier refusal to appear before the investigative committee was overruled by a competent court of jurisdiction just in April of this year. The Senate therefore viewed this persistent refusal as a great danger to our democracy. Therefore, the Senate resolved to declare the IGP as an enemy of democracy and not fit to hold any public office within and outside Nigeria. The leadership of the Senate was also mandated to look into the matter for further necessary action.
Recall that the Federal High Court had in April 10 ruled that the Senate has powers to invite any public office holder to appear before it. Hence, Ibrahim Idris was ordered to honor Senate summons. The reluctant IGP has last year, in the company of his legal counsel, Alec Izinho, appeared before a Senate committee investigating him for alleged corruption. He has since then refused to appear before the Senate for further investigation.
The ayes have it.
It is the view of the Nigerian Senate that unless proliferation of firearms in the hands of unlicensed holders are quickly reversed, the rampant killings across the country will go on unabated. To this end, the Senate has resolved to invite the service chiefs, customs, immigration, and DSS bosses to brief the lawmakers on modalities to check arms proliferation in the country. According to Hunkuyi, security agencies charged with the responsibility of licensing or checking acquisition of sophisticated weapons have failed in their duties, as over 70% of illegal arms are in circulation in the country. He attributes the spate of killings by armed headsmen to poor regulation and failure of security agencies in the country. Hunkuyi warns that the killing across the country, especially in Benue, among other agrarian states, may lead to food shortage unless government takes urgent steps to curb firearm possession by headsmen and other unauthorized holders.
Worried that despite the killings in Benue, Kaduna,
Kogi, Zamfara, and other parts of Nigeria, which occurred within a space of a short period of February to April 2018 and still trending today. Of course, the Boko Haram mayhem in the northeast, coupled with the daily nationally spread cases of sophisticated killings, deadly clashes, armed robberies, kidnappings, cattle rustling, and other heinous crimes, where hitherto unavailable firearms are used.
Seconding the motion, another Kaduna senator blames the proliferation of sophisticated weapons on political class, who he says play a role in arming unauthorized persons. He describes Nigeria as gradually edging towards a failed state, in addition to becoming an AK-47 country. He concludes that unless Nigerians and the political class are reorientated on the true ideals of politics, the nation will make no progress.
Political parties in Nigeria were not founded on any ideology. They were founded as a vehicle for assuming political offices, and they are prepared to do so by all means. Violence is not simply about the headsmen and the insurgents, but we have seen an institutionalized adoption and adaptation of violence as a policy and as a strategy of people in the position of power.
President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, in his contributions, rules that service chiefs, among other top security agency chiefs, be invited to the Senate to update the lawmakers on the way forward.
Invite all service chiefs, Director General of State Services, National Security Advisor, Controller General of Customs, Immigration, for discussion on way of this unfortunate situation. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Committee on Intelligence and National Security has been mandated to look into the matter and report back to the Senate.
The ayes have it.
The Nigerian Senate has begun moves to make good its vow not to allow those who played a part in the invasion and cutting away of the maize to go unpunished. To this end, President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, has inaugurated a joint committee of the National Assembly to investigate and come up with recommendations for all culpable parties in the show of shame. The committee is headed by Senator Bala Ibn Na'ala. President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, who inaugurated the committee, says the report of the committee will be relied upon by the National Assembly to mete out punishment for all those who played a role in the invasion saga. While charging members of the joint committee to see the assignment as an urgent national duty, he also urges them to be fearless, adding that posterity will not forgive the 8th Senate if it fails to take stern actions on the issue, which he describes as national embarrassment.
The events of the 18th April 2018 will go down as one of the darkest days of our democracy, where the presence of the National Assembly, which is not just a place where the National Assembly meets, it is a symbol of our liberty and freedom from autocracy and the base of our democracy. This event should not happen. It should never happen again. The violation of this solemn place, the symbol of our liberty to have a government by the representative of our people, for our people, by a group of mobsters and criminals, cannot simply be ignored. It has become inferred in many quarters that this group of thugs were led by a serving senator is most despicable and unspeakable.
Deputy Leader of the Senate, who doubles as chairman of the committee, assures that the committee will do everything necessary to perform its task creditably.
This committee is disturbed by the fact that the assignment given to it is a very serious assignment, but I have the authority of my colleagues in the Senate and the House of Representatives to assure Mr. President, who is the chairman of the National Assembly, that we will discharge this responsibility with the utmost attention and seriousness that it deserves, Mr. President.
A member of the committee from House of Representatives also gave the assurance that the assignment will be executed with all seriousness, as assault on the Senate is also assault on the House of Representatives.
I'm particularly impressed with the swift reaction of the Senate and the House of Representatives during and after the saga, resulting in the setting up of this joint ad hoc committee to investigate the remote and immediate causes of the incident in order to nip future occurrences in the board. That was an eloquent testimony of the patriotic zeal and spirit of oneness in both chambers. I wish to further thank the National Assembly members individually and collectively for the maximum cooperation, especially those of us who have found time to attend this inauguration despite the short notice.
Although the committee was not given a specific deadline within which to submit its report, a member of the committee told CoreTV News that his first meeting holds immediately after the inauguration, while a second one holds on 9th of May.
As you can see, the eyes have it.
Let's take a break. When we return, we'll bring you more reports.
As you can see, the eyes have it.
If you are not idle, nobody will probably come and encourage you to join their gang or the group.
Yes. To keep Nigeria one is a must that must be done. Nigeria is not going to break.
So if I want to buy this one now, how much you go sell this one?
I will fee give you 500.
Sure? This one?
Yes.
This small banana?
Yes.
I know that Buhari can do it.
He has a lot of plans. We should be praying for him. He's a human being. Anything can happen to anybody.
The majority of the law they pass belong to them, to favor them, not the masses in Nigeria.
If we want to change, let's change generally. Don't let's change half. Let's change generally.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
As you can see, the eyes have it.
Welcome back. The House of Representatives on Tuesday passed for second reading a bill to repeal the Vague Terrorism Act of 2011 and enact the Terrorism Act 2018. The proposed Terrorism Act 2018 is to provide for measures for detection, prevention, enforcement, and combating of acts of terrorism across the country.
Giving insight at plenary, sponsor of the bill, Kayode Oladele, explains that the bill seeks to establish institutional frameworks, including the Nigeria Sanctions Committee, for the implementation, coordination, and enforcement of its provisions. Some fundamental changes incorporated into the bill, as noted by the lawmaker, are the expanded definition of what constitutes acts of terrorism and the crime of hostage-taking, kidnapping, and hijacking.
The purpose of the bill, Mr. Speaker, which is a justice sector bill, and which has been drawn and has been on the drawing table since 2013, is, among other things, one, to harmonize the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 and the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, and to correct the numbering challenges in the existing legal frameworks. Repeal the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011 as amended.
Lawmakers debating on the bill on the floor give their full support and call for thorough check on the Nigerian border.
It is my prayer that the federal government will empower the police, the SSS, and all the other security agencies which are involved in investigating terrorism-related offenses, so that by the time a suspect is arrested, investigation ought to have concluded. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important area.
We must look at this bill in such a way that creates a safety net for people, so that this omnibus definition of terrorism is not such a dragnet that gathers everybody and gives them, and then they are presumed guilty until proven innocent.
Consequently, I think the purpose of this bill
is to actually bring the entire gamut of the law on terrorism in one act. I support the second reading of this bill because it seeks to incorporate the relevant sections on terrorism in one bill.
The Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, therefore referred the bill to the House Committee on Security and Intelligence for further legislative input.
As you can see, the eyes have it.
Worried about the continued lockdown of the national headquarters of the Peace Corps of Nigeria by the Nigerian police, despite court ruling to the contrary, the House of Representatives has ordered the Inspector General of Police, Idris Ibrahim, to unseal the building within 21 days. This follows the recommendation of the House Committee on Public Petitions, which conducted an investigation into the matter.
The committee notes that the Peace Corps facilities has been under lock and keys by the police since February 28, 2017. The committee also states that Justice Gabriel Kolawole of the Federal High Court, Abuja, had on 9 November 2017 ordered that the office be unsealed while awarding 12.5 million damages against the Nigerian police. In a similar development, Justice John Soho of another division of the Federal High Court, Abuja, had also on the 15th of January 2018 given judgment that police should vacate the Peace Corps office. None of the judgments was obeyed, and no validity of execution was obtained by the police, whose operatives and vehicles are permanently stationed at the premises of the Peace Corps. Presenting the report of the investigation to the House at plenary on Wednesday, Chairman of the House Committee on Public Petitions says a series of invitations has been sent to the Inspector General of Police to appear before the committee, but he refused to honor it.
Mr. Chairman, it interests us to note that if something is not done to restore that court orders be obeyed, then I fear very much that we're heading to anarchy. The Peace Corps organizations had this petition brought by a coalition of civil society organizations for justice and equity against the Nigerian police force for sealing the premises of the Peace Corps. The totality of evidence, both oral and paper submitted, we found out that the Peace Corps had obtained several and numerous court orders that were precise, direct, that they should unseal their premises.
The committee, while expressing its concern, notes that it will spell doom for Nigerian democracy and give room to anarchy if an agency of the federal government, in this case the Nigerian police, continues to disobey court orders.
The respondent, in this case Inspector General of Police, to vacate and unseal the premises of the petitioner, Peace Corps of Nigeria.
Let's take a break. When we return, we'll bring you more reports.
As you can see, the eyes have it.
The judiciary, third arm of government. What happens?
The doctrine of least spenders ought to have been respected. There are no... But I've never seen it.
To transmit its copy of annual accounts certified by auditors to the National Assembly and the Presidency within 2 months after close of each financial year, as provided in Section 50 of the CBN Act 2004. This resolution is coming via a motion by Kingsley Chinda at the plenary Wednesday.
Leading the debate, the lawmaker expresses worry that the Central Bank of Nigeria has not been complying with Section 50, subsection 1 of the CBN Act 2004, thereby rendering the law nugatory and of no effect.
To urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to comply with the provisions of Section 50, subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, and ensure that it transmits to the National Assembly a copy of its annual account certified by the auditor.
Lawmakers supporting the motion say the audit report will help understand the spendings of the CBN
in their annual report and accounts.
Motion and mandates the committees on
that the NYC scheme was established at Asian camps, Ukemem, Kwara State.
Falling off the stream in cause of the drilling exercise at the camp, and those said to have been rushed to the NYSC clinic. The clinic only had youth come doctors.
Do they get facilities just to check to see very rigorous exercises are lacking? It's like condemning our children to death.
Before subjecting